Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hear me okay? Thank you. Good afternoon. I was almost going to say good morning, then I realized, wait a minute, it's already the afternoon here. At least it is where I am. We're in Colorado, so great. It looks like I've got just about everybody on here that was originally sitting in the waiting room. So bear with me if I get a little distracted because I did have a few other people signed up. So I may be needing to let people in while I'm talking here. My name is Heather, and I am the User Success and Digital Learning Manager here at Cheddar Up. And thank you for joining us on a learning session. Today's learning session, I have all about peer-to-peer fundraising. So there's a lot of different things you can do with Cheddar Up, and that's what's really exciting about our platform. It's very flexible, and you have lots of different options. Today, I am going to hone in primarily on what peer-to-peer fundraising is. I'm going to pull up our primary dashboard in Cheddar Up. I will do a quick walkthrough of all the kind of different ways you can use us. But then I am going to hone in more on what we call peer-to-peer fundraising. And that's a kind of a general term in the fundraising world. And basically what peer-to-peer means is that you're generating multiple web pages and you're trying to create the power of your network. So what happens in a peer-to-peer fundraiser is you create this type of fundraiser where you have individual participants and each participant is fundraising on behalf of your organization. They have their own participant page. They have a way to track information. You have a way to track money that's coming in under that individual's name. And so that's just kind of a common term for peer-to-peer fundraising. So I'll bring up my dashboard here in 1 second. Couple of the things I'll cover is I will go through a few examples of different peer-to-peer fundraisers. I'll then go over to our builder and I'll walk you through building one of these fundraisers. I'll give you a quick view of our all-in-one builder and like which direction you would go on the platform, but I will hone in on peer-to-peer more today. And then finally, I like to show you what things look like when people start to submit money and information as well. So I will show you that view and I'll end with a report. So we have a couple different reports you can get in Cheddar Up, but there's this nice one called the fundraising report or the collection summary report, and that's the one I'm going to show at the end. So you see a nice 360-degree view in an Excel format of that collection, just in a little different view. And so we'll look at that together today as well. So we're not a huge group, so please feel free if you want to unmute. I think somebody already did already. That's great. Thank you so much. Go ahead. You can unmute. You can ask questions. If you need clarifications or anything, go ahead and do that. I'll make sure I stop along the way. And also, if you want to put something in the chat, you can do that too. And I'll just stop along the way. I'll ask questions. And if you need to interrupt me, no problem at all. Go ahead and interrupt me as well. Okay. And then, like I said, just bear with me if I get distracted if other people hop on. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up the dashboard right now. And I did get a chance to take a look at people's registration forms when you signed up to use us, or when you signed up for this call, I mean. And so I do have a general understanding of where you are all at. I think some of you were specifically wanting to learn more about peer-to-peer, and a couple of you were kind of looking to get a general understanding of Cheddar Up in general. So because we have a pretty robust platform, it's hard for me sometimes to cover every single feature in one single learning session. So again, I am going to hone in more on peer-to-peer, but if you do have general questions or something you want me to clarify, please go ahead and let me know what your questions are, okay? Okay, so here I am right now. I'm logged into the Cheddar Up dashboard. Couple of things to note when you first get started using Cheddar Up. So you're going to create an account with us. When you create an account, you are going to have a choice of signing up as either an individual or an organization. The one thing I do like to mention when you're Great. Okay, Teresa wants to know more about the basics. So I'm going to cover that as much as I can, Teresa, but you will see me land in peer-to-peer today, okay? So a couple of things to note. When you get started with Cheddar Up, the first thing you do is you create an account with us. When you create an account, you have two options. You'll be asked to either be an individual or an organization. Now, one of the beautiful things about Cheddar Up is you can use us just as an individual. You don't need to be an organization, a business, a 501c3. If you are, you're going to sign up as an organization and you're going to have an EIN number that you're going to need to add on when you create that account. If you are not in an organization with an EIN number, you'll just sign up as an individual, okay? And then once you get signed up, you land here on our primary dashboard. It doesn't matter what type of organization you are. It doesn't matter how you signed up, whether individual or organization. Everybody has the same view in the platform, okay? One other thing to note, we do have 3 subscription plans when you use CheddarUp. So I right now am logged into our top subscription plan. This is the team subscription plan. You'll see I have access to all of the different features here. I have access to everything that CheddarUp has to offer. When you create your account for the first time, you start on the basic subscription plan. Now, a couple things you'll see that you're not seeing on my account. You're going to see a little star, and there's going to be a little label next to specific features. They're going to tell you the star means it's a paid or an upgraded feature, and then you're going to see a label that might say Pro or Team. And when you see those labels that say Pro or Team, it means that that feature is associated with that subscription plan. Now, because I'm in the team subscription plan, you don't see any of those labels on my account. I have access to everything. One thing to note, there are many of those paid features that you can play with before you actually have to pay for them. So basically what you'll see is if you add on one of those paid features, you'll see the little star, you can play with it, and then before you publish, the system's going to say to you, oh, you've got some upgraded features, please go ahead and pay to upgrade. If you want to see which those features are, we have a little slide out screen that will help you walk through all of that. And at that point, you can decide, do you want to keep those features on your collection and go ahead and upgrade? Or did you play with them, but you don't really think they're what you want at the moment? You can go ahead and remove them, okay? So again, I'm logged into the team plan. I will point out a few things as I walk through it, but just so you know, I do have access to all the features here. Okay, so when you're in your primary dashboard on CheddarUp, it's a couple things to note in terms of navigation. So on the top here, when I click on collections, this brings me back to the primary dashboard. On the far left-hand side, I have a few options of different things I can do using CheddarUp. Collections are all of the web pages you have built to gather money or information. So a little bit of CheddarUp terminology I like to cover in these conversations. You're going to hear me use that word collection a lot. It's a general word that we use in CheddarUp for a web page that you build to gather money, information, one or the other, or both. Okay. And there's a few different ways you can go when you use CheddarUp, but you do want to think ahead when you're building. I'm going to call you the organizer. You're the person that comes to the platform. You are maybe associated with an organization, maybe not, but you're the one organizing these collections. Okay. So when you're the organizer, you do want to think a little bit. What do I need to do today? Do I need to get money from a bunch of people? Do I need to gather information in a form or a sign up? Do I actually need to do both? Am I trying to just run a fundraiser and I'm primarily focused on the money side of things? And so then you think a little bit about that, and then CheddarUp will guide you into different directions based on what you're trying to do. Okay, so I'll show you that flow in a minute. Couple other things I want to note on the primary dashboard here. So collections, these are all your collections. These are the web pages that you build. Managers, you can choose to use CheddarUp and add on managers. This is a team subscription plan feature. And basically what managers allows you to do, it allows you to add multiple people on within your organization that also can have access to your account. You can share collections with them. They can manage certain collections instead of you if you have multiple volunteers or things like that. Group page. This is another really nice feature. It's also on the team subscription plan. Here's an example of a group page. So typically when you use a group page, what you want to understand in CheddarUp is you're building web pages which have links and URLs. And there's lots of different links and URLs that you're creating depending on what types of collections you're building. Now, sometimes you want to house all that in a single spot. And you might even need like a mini website for your organization. And so that's what the group page functionality does. It's going to give you a single web page, a single URL. You can put all of your collections on underneath, and also you can use it as a mini website for your group. So here's an example of a group page. Okay. And in our collection builder, I can build, and in my, pardon me, and in my primary dashboard for CheddarUp, I can go to my group page and I can build that group page here. Okay, one last thing to note, reporting. We have a lot of nice reporting features in CheddarUp. There's a few different places where you can go to get reports. I'm going to show everybody the primary report today that's either, it's called a collection summary or a fundraising report, depending on which type of collection you're building with us. It's on a different spot than here, but this is another great place to go when you're using CheddarUp if you need to slice and dice your data in a few different ways. Now, one thing to note, if you're on the team subscription plan, you can see all of your collections as a whole and you can see them individually. When you're on basic or pro, you're going to see each collection separately, but you don't necessarily see your organization as a whole. And you do have a few less reporting features on basic and pro, but there's plenty to get started from. And most people spend a lot of time in the summary report that I'm going to show you. I always say start there, then grow over to here on the reporting page. Okay, everybody keeping up with me so far on some of the basics? Because I want to talk now about some of the different types of collections you can build in CheddarUp, and I'm going to show you some examples on a public facing view. When you log in here, you're the organizer, you're creating them, then you create these live links, right? And people go to those. So I want to show you the public view of some of these collections now. I'll stop for a minute if anybody has any questions thus far. Okay, so let's look at a few examples, okay? I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can use CheddarUp, and then I'm going to hone in on peer-to-peer, okay? So we talked about that group page, right? I showed you that. One thing you can do with CheddarUp, and I mentioned before, you can use this to gather money, you can use this to gather information, you can do one or the other, you can do both. No matter what, you're collecting, right? You're collecting money, you're collecting information. And that's why we use that general term of collection quite often. So here's an example of a collection that's just a collection for information. It's a sign up. So you can use CheddarUp to build signups. You can use CheddarUp to build a sign up schedule where you would have dates and times and different volunteers adding their names to different slots. Or you can do just basic signups too, where you have one item per one person's name next to it. So a lot of flexibility on signups, okay? You can also use this to build forms. So you can associate a form over on one of your collections that also gathers money, or you can just build forms on yourself. Sometimes you have registration forms, you have questions you need to ask people, and you need to get that information. Okay, this is an example of a collection built with our general collection builder. And the primary thing I want to talk about today is a difference between an all-in-one collection or a peer-to-peer. Okay, we're talking a lot about web pages and links and URLs. Every time you come to CheddarUp and you're building something, you're building a web page, you're building a link, okay? Now, if you just use our general collection, you're going to create one link. Here's an example. So this is a collection. I have a single link, my general public, they're all coming here to this one single link. And on this collection, I'm doing two things. I'm gathering money for some after school classes here. And I also did add a form onto this collection because I want to gather some information too. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can gather information in CheddarUp. You can have separate forms, and you can ask questions associated with items that people are buying. Okay. All of these are options when you use our all-in-one collection builder. I'm going to move over to talking about peer-to-peer now because that's a little different URL structure. And we're going to talk about that next, but I'll stop and see if anybody has any questions thus far on kind of our all-in-one collection builder, what you can do with that. And then we're going to dig more into peer-to-peer, and I'm going to show you that builder too. This one I didn't show you the builder on. I just talked about some examples. You guys all tracking me? Sometimes some thumbs up or things like that always gives me a little bit of feedback from everybody to make sure we're all tracking me. Okay, thanks, Teresa. Okay, so, oh, and I got a question. Let's just see. Okay, on summary resort reports, how do you sort by date? So you should see on your summary report, Claudia, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for all of your payments, you could go to your all your payments tab and you will see a sub column on dates there. The other place you might want to look, if you're trying to look at your summary report on an individual item, is every single item that you put on a collection will have its own tab on your collection summary report. You may need to go to that. Look at the bottom, you're going to see a series of tabs, and then find the item that you're trying to dig a little bit deeper on and click on that specific item, and you should be able to see purchases and payments made by date there. If you're considering information that you gathered and you might have put information there, you can also go to your, and you had a form, you can go to your payments tab or your all purchases tab and scroll over to the far right and you'll see information from your form. But I think your question about date might be more related to payments. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about peer-to-peer. Okay, so I mentioned before there's all these different ways you can use CheddarUp, and you have a lot of flexibility in how you use us. As an organizer, you're always thinking, am I gathering money? Am I gathering information? Am I doing one or the other? Now you can go a little bit further with us, and you can do something called building a peer-to-peer fundraiser. With a peer-to-peer fundraiser, you're still deciding if you're primarily gathering money, you're primarily raising money for an organization. And the trick is peer-to-peer has participants. So maybe you're a school and you have a bunch of kids at your school and you want every single kid in the school to try to raise money. Maybe you're a sports team and you have several athletes on your team and you want every single athlete to have their own unique participant page and you want them to try to raise money on behalf of your organization, okay? If you're going to do that, you might want to explore peer to peer. Now, what's going to happen on a peer to peer fundraiser is you're going to have a lot of the same components as our regular builder, but you're going to also have these individual participant pages. So let me show you here an example of a peer to peer fundraiser. This is called an a-thon. We have three types of peer-to-peer fundraisers you can build with us, okay? In all three options, you're adding participants on who are going to have their own unique participant pages. I'll show you those in a minute here. Peer-to-peer fundraisers, you'll have participants, they'll all have their own unique web page, and you can run three types of peer-to-peer fundraisers with us. You can do an a-thon. Here's an example of an a-thon. An a-thon is an activity-based fundraiser where you are going to have people within your organization all take part in an activity. Sometimes it happens in a single day, sometimes it happens over several months, but people are taking part by doing that activity and then recording the activity. So, for example, in a readathon, people are reading books, maybe pages, right? And you're going to have all the kids at a school read pages or read a bunch of books, and they're going to record that activity. If you do an a-thon, you're also gathering pledges. People say that I will donate a certain amount of money to an individual after they complete so many activities. Okay. So for example, I'm going to read, a kid says, I promise I'm going to read 10 books. And that pledger, that donor says, great, I'm going to give them, I'm going to pledge, $5 a book. And then at the end, you can go ahead and charge those donations to the people that pledged. Okay. So that's an a-thon type of peer-to-peer fundraiser. And here's an example. You can see the information. You can see a few components are put together on this fundraiser as well, and I'll walk you through those. So this is an a-thon. Here's another type of peer-to-peer fundraiser you can do with CheddarUp. This is called an item sale. Now, sometimes you want to sell something, but you want every individual on your team, at your school, to have their own unique participant page to help sell these items. Okay, so here's an example of a plant sale. You, as the organizer, can set most of this up for them. You can indicate what people can shop for. When donors start to give money, their names will display here. This is not an a-thon because you're not gathering pledges up front on an activity. You're just selling items, okay? And then individual participants can have their own unique pages, each one of them selling these items, and they have their own unique link. So now these kids can share their own participant page with their closest family, with their closest friends. And this way you're kind of creating that network effect in fundraising where all these different individuals are able to fundraise on behalf of your organization and they all have their own unique pages. It really can compound the amount of money you can raise. So here's an example of an item sale. We put plants on this one. You could sell anything. You could be the holidays and you're selling, I don't know, like baked goods around Thanksgiving, right? Pies and things like that. I've seen organizations maybe more around Christmas time, if you're in a group that celebrates Christmas, selling wreaths or poinsettias or things like that. The sky's the limit in what you want to sell, but the idea is each individual kid will have their own page. And this is what it looks like to the general public, okay? So you're the one setting this up. You're deciding, are you going to have these participants or not? You're the one deciding what do the details look like. These are components you can add on, these little call to actions. Let me go back to our main fundraising page. So this here is you're setting this up. You're deciding, do I want to show this board or not with the donors? Do I want to put this little button on here or not? Do I want the participants to show who's in the lead? Do I want to see how much money we've raised? I'm going to show you all those components when we go over to the builder. Okay, one last type of peer-to-peer fundraiser you could do with us. Remember I said there's three. We covered a-thons. We just covered an item sales where you're selling things. And the last one is just flat donations. Okay, flat donations, you're just outright asking for money. But the difference is you've got all these individual participants asking for money on behalf of your organization. A general collection is going to just build one link. We're building multiple with a hierarchy in a peer-to-peer. So here's an example of a peer-to-peer flat donations fundraiser. They look very similar. You add on these components of an image. You're the one labeling all of this. You're deciding the goal. You're putting this little call to action button together. You're describing what this is about. Okay, you can add an FAQ if you want. Donors can start to display as they give money for this event, for this fundraiser. And then your participants can have their own unique pages. And here's an example of a participant with all the different participants labeled. And then here's a participant page. You can even decide on your participants pages when they build them. Do you want to let them have these little images here? You can put a video here if you want. If you don't think they're going to actually fill all this out when you send them the link, you can skip this. You can turn all of this off, okay? But you're the one setting up all the components, and then you're inviting these participants, and then they can do a little bit of building, but you as the organizer have set most of this up ahead of time. Okay, how's everybody doing thus far? These are the different examples that you can build using a peer-to-peer fundraiser. I'm going to go over to the builder now, and we're going to walk through building one of these. Is everybody keeping up with me so far? Lots of options here. Great. Okay. So let's go over here back to the builder. Okay. When you're going to build a peer-to-peer fundraiser with CheddarUp, you come here, no matter what you're going to do. Anytime you're going to create a collection in CheddarUp, you always go to the same spot, this create a collection button. Okay. Doesn't matter which way what you're going to do. Now here you have a few different options. You can come over here to select fundraiser. That's what you're going to do on this one. If you want to just build a single link to gather some money, to gather just some basic information, go to the all-in-one builder on the left here, okay? For a peer-to-peer, you come over here to the right, select fundraiser type. Now we're going to double check with you that you want to go to peer-to-peer, okay? So you're going to click select peer-to-peer, and now here you have three examples: activity-based a-thon, product sales, flat donations. If you need some examples, you can go ahead and click on here and you're going to see all the examples, okay? Now, if I just get started here, it's going to be a blank page for me, and that's just a little bit too much for me to type in while I'm talking to you and doing this demo. So I'm not going to click on get started, but that's what you would do when you're ready to get started, okay? I'm going to go to my dashboard and I do already have my readathon copied and I'm going to work from that. That is the nice thing in CheddarUp is you can go ahead and create copies as much as you want. You can find a few of our peer-to-peer fundraisers also in the template library if you come up here, okay? So let me open this one up. Okay, everybody tracking me so far? Okay, so when you get into the peer-to-peer builder, you're here. Now, anytime you're in CheddarUp, you have to build collections. So you get this builder view, okay? The view changes a little bit depending on what type of collection you're building. If you need to get back to the primary dashboard, you're going to click here on collections. If you click over here on CheddarUp, that brings you to our external website. So when you need to know where to go, you click back to collections, okay? Now the builder opens up and it creates a series of steps you need to take. If you're in the all-in-one collection builder, you have a similar series of steps. It works in the same way, no matter which builder you're in. You follow the steps, you hit continue. The continue button will move you through the steps, and you can jump around if you need to, but I always recommend to just follow the builder in order because it's going to move you through everything, okay? So your first section in fundraiser details, you got to get all the basics put together for this fundraiser. You come here, you can add in an image like I mentioned before. You can do up to 4 images here. You can add a video if you want. We even have a nice gallery that you can pick images from our gallery. Okay, then you're going to give it a title. And then here, you're going to start to put together the information related to the peer-to-peer. Why are you doing this? Are you trying to raise money for a new building at your organization? Are you trying to raise money to send everybody to a state tournament? What are you doing? The more you explain to people why you're running these types of fundraisers, the more likely they are to give, okay? Then you set dates or times. I picked an a-thon fundraiser for us to give a shot at. Okay, I'm showing you this one today. Typically, if you're going to run a peer-to-peer, you probably do want to have a beginning and an end point. We're going to run this for 2 months. We're going to run it for a week. We're going to run it for, sometimes when you're doing a general donation page, you just let that sit up to the world for a long time. Peer-to-peers usually have a start and an end, and you're kind of pushing people with a lot of energy to get them to contribute in a short amount of time. Okay, now I mentioned before when we were looking at that public view, you could decide, are you going to put a goal on here or not? If you left this blank, nobody would know how much you're trying to raise. Now that's fine, you can leave it blank, but if you want to show people how much you're trying to raise, you would put a goal on, okay? Now, do you want to make that public? You toggle this on or off. These are just toggles. You're turning them on or off, and you can't always click on preview to see what things look like as you're moving through the builder. That works the same in our all-in-one and on this general color and on the peer-to-peer, okay? Now here, boost engagement. Do you want to show, I showed you on that far right-hand side, the pledges and the donor feed. Do you want that to show as people are contributing money and pledges or not? Okay. I'd like to have it turned on. I think it just creates more interest. So you can turn it on. Okay. Now, with peer-to-peer fundraising, you can decide, do you want to show the individual participants and who's in the lead? And are you interested in building teams? So for example, if you're at a school, you might do teams because you have maybe different grades, you have maybe different classrooms. If you're a large sports club, maybe you have teams because you have your U12 kids, your U14, your U16 kids, right? And everyone's going to contribute. So you want to think a little bit about whether or not you want to turn that teams on or off if you want to kind of group your participants, okay? That call to action button, that little spiral that I was showing you, you can decide whether or not you're going to show it and what you want it to say. And then FAQs. I do like FAQs. If you have the same 5 parents that always ask the same questions, put an FAQ on. Try to anticipate that ahead of time, okay? So you follow these steps and we're going to hit continue. Okay, now the system's going to move us through, right? It moves us down through the builder. I hit continue. I'm now on my peer-to-peer options. If you're in the general builder, it does the same thing. A few different steps you take, but the builder works the same. Okay, so here on peer-to-peer options, you can decide, do you want to let your participants register themselves? I like this turned on. Depending on what type of peer-to-peer you're running and the age of the kids and things like that, you may decide that you want people to self-register instead of sending emails to everybody. So if you want people to be able to come to your page and register themselves, you're going to turn this toggle on, okay? Now, you can also invite your participants by email. If you want to have a custom message, you're going to turn this on. Now, I had showed you those participant pages. Let me see. This is an individual participant page right here. Pardon me. This is an individual participant page. We're customizing this now in our builder. Okay. So participant fundraising page. Do we want to let them change their name? Yes or no? Are we going to just show first and one initial with last name? That's up to you. Do you want to let them put their images and videos on or not? If you don't think they're going to do a very good job of building that participant page, I would lock it down. Don't put much on it. Then they don't need to go and add a bunch of things to it. Okay. Do you want to let the participant put their own personal note on their page? Yes or no? You can't even give them a little suggestion if you want. If you don't like what they're going to put, you don't want to deal with it, you can turn it off. It's up to you. And then do you want that leaderboard with top fundraising teams or donors on the participant page? Your leaderboard can show in two spots. It can show on the participants page and on the general view page. So this is the participants page. You'll see here, I do not actually have the leaderboard turned on here. I'm not showing who's in the lead on that, okay? And then this is your general page. Same thing, I don't have it turned on. And then do you want to set goals for each individual participant? Now remember, I do believe that peer-to-peer fundraising is kind of an advanced fundraiser. So if you haven't done this before, you probably want to just start with our all-in-one builder. However, if you've been doing that for a while and you're ready to take fundraising to the next level, this is when you start to play with peer-to-peer. I like having the goal. You're going to challenge every individual within your organization to raise that money. That's really going to exponentially bring more money in for your organization. Peer-to-peer also is really nice, perhaps on like a team where you know that the kids are trying to raise money for their own club sport and you want to assign that money to each individual. That's another good spot where you can use it. Okay, so now on an a-thon, we do have to look at our activity-based pledge and donations. So an activity has a unit. Is it one lap? Is it one book read? Is it one round of something? Is it one game of something, right? Is it other? Is it serves for a serve-a-thon? Something like that. But you are adding in the activity that you're tracking. Couple other options you can decide. Are you letting donors make a flat donation to a participant? Are you going to allow them to give money and just give it generally to the organization and not worry about a participant? Yes, I would just turn these on. If people want to just give money, we're going to let them give money, right? And you can customize receipts. So every time somebody pays on CheddarUp, we gather first and last name and email, and we send them an email. If you want to customize what that email says to them, you can go ahead and customize that here. Okay, we're almost to publishing this. It's not a live link or URL until I get to publish, okay? So I have to go through all the steps to build. I have to do this last section of putting on my settings, adjusting my settings, I should say, and then finally we'll get to publish this, okay? Then we're still gonna have to add on participants. There's an extra step in peer-to-peer because you now have all these individuals you need to add on so they can have their own unique pages, okay? So if you don't need all of that, you just do the general builder. Okay, so let's look at our last settings here. So credit cards are automatically turned on for all payments when you're on peer-to-peer. If you want to allow e-check, you can turn that on or off. If you want to absorb the fees on your organization, you can go ahead and do that. Right now, there are fees for the payments, and those automatically go to the payer. So you don't have to deal with them as long as you just leave this on the default setting. Okay? We're going to go to continue, and now we're ready to publish. When I publish, I now have created a live link, but I haven't added on any of my participants. Okay, I'm going to stop for a minute and see if you guys have any questions up to this point. We've built the fundraiser, but we don't have any participants yet that are going to have their own unique pages. That's what I'm going to do next. But I just want to see if everybody's tracking me so far. How are we doing? Okay, thanks, Jody. I'm going to assume everybody else is doing all right, and we're going to keep on moving. Okay, So again, you got a couple of more steps when you're running a peer-to-peer fundraiser. Okay, so we've built it. We turned on all those components. We can come back to it. I didn't go to the view multiple times because I just want to run you guys through all this, okay? But you can keep on checking it, see how it looks. Okay, now we're going to add our participants, okay? So when you add participants, you can do it in a couple of different ways. You can manually type in people's names, and you can also upload a file, okay? If you upload a file, you're going to have a name and an email address. Each one of these people then will get an email saying, build your participant page, okay? So let me pull this up. I'm going to add in a file. I checked earlier to see if I had it. Okay, this should work. Okay, I like a file because it's just, look at right here. This is the format, first and last name and email. That's all you need and it saves you a lot of time. Okay, so we're going to add them. These are all my different participants. Now I'm going to save that participant list. And these are all the people that are going to participate in this fundraiser. Now, if you're a school, you might want to think a little bit about this. Do you want each individual kid? Do you maybe want to do it by classroom? If you're going to do it by classroom, maybe you're going to assign each teacher to be a participant. They could do one page for their whole class, and then everybody could be contributing. You could then see how people are doing based on the teacher. You could go more granular, have every single kid, and then you could have teams. If you don't have all the kids' email addresses, you can just do a blank registration link and parents can self-register the kids as well. But I do like that potential on the teacher being the participant and then everyone's contributing to the teacher's page. That's one way to think about it as well. Okay, now these individuals, they're in your system as a participant, but they haven't been invited yet to personalize their page, okay? You do still need to do that. So we're going to indicate a few of these people that we want to invite to personalize their page, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send them their invites. You can bulk invite them as well. I'm just sending a few. Okay, so now I sent out these invitations to all the participants and they need to still customize their page. Okay, let me check. Okay, so now you see I've got these individual participants that have been invited to customize their page. This is what it looks like. They get an email sent to them. Okay, they get this little Cheddar Up email. It says you're invited to participate. Customize your fundraising page. Step 2, share your page with friends and family. Step 3, we'll send you a confirmation email as people start to contribute. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and click on Get Started. So now I'm not the organizer, I'm the participant. This is a different view, okay? This is the participant who you've invited as the organizer. They get this email and they set up their page real quickly. So when we built this fundraiser, we decided, are we going to let them share their link? We turn this on or off. We set this goal here. We said, yes, we do want them to add a video. Okay. Now remember, I told you on that participant, on the peer-to-peer settings, you can turn a lot of this off if you want. If you're not thinking people are going to upload their pictures and you don't think they're going to take the time to put videos and you don't think they're going to take the time to put in a little note here, just toggle all of those off. Okay. And then you don't need to worry about it. Now the pages are automatically built for you. So if the participant doesn't customize it, you will still have a page. So I do like to say less is more sometimes, unless you've done this a few times and people really are ready to get into it. Okay, so this is that view when they're customizing their page. I'm not going to add all the images in right now because it'll just take me a little bit too long, but I will go ahead and share that. And now you can see here, I can view my page. I can share the page if I want to be able to grab this link. This is the link that mom and dad might need, right? They're going to hit up grandma and grandpa and all the close friends on the block, right? They're going to hit up cousins and aunts and uncles, however you want to handle it. But this individual link is what is going to go to those people, okay? Okay, so let's close this. And now you've built those participant pages. Okay, so we've covered a lot this far. The last thing I like to do is make sure that I show you what this collection will look like when people start to submit money to your peer-to-peer fundraiser. So we've talked about how to build the peer-to-peer fundraiser. We've talked about the difference between a general collection and a peer-to-peer fundraiser, why they're different and what you're building that's different. We've looked at all those settings. We've invited participants. We've looked at that participant view. And then you've got that collection out in the public. Okay, so then you're sharing it. Your participants are sharing their pages. You can share the general page as well. And this is when your email campaign, your text campaign comes out. People are sending this to their friends and family. Okay. Now it sits in the public for a while and people start to contribute money on it. I want to show you a different collection that has money on it, but I will check and see, is everybody doing okay up to this point? Any questions or things like that? Okay, so let's look at a peer-to-peer fundraiser that has money on it, okay? Let me see. I don't know if I have money on my readathon. Oh, I have a little bit. I'm going to show you this one though because it has a little bit more money. Okay, so when your money starts to come in, you're going to see it listed as a donation, okay? Now, if it were a readathon or something like that, you will also see pledges before and then the money coming in after. I'm just going to show you what things look like after the money's come in, okay? This is an example of the manage view in your peer-to-peer fundraiser. Now, you can see your balance summary here. You can check and see if when you've transferred money off of your collection. When you're ready to transfer money, you can just transfer it to United States checking account. You can see here you may be eligible for instant transfers. That's an instant withdrawal. Okay, not everybody's eligible, but if you see that, you can get that money even a little bit faster. You can transfer the money to bank, and you could even transfer the money to a gift card if you wanted to. So we do have over 100 different gift cards that you can pick from. A recipient will get an email and then they can pick which gift card they want, okay? But this is your balance summary. So as the money starts to come in, you see it here and you can see what methods have been used, and when you're ready to transfer, you can transfer it from here. Okay, you can also see your individual payers who have donated money to the fundraiser, right? If you click here, you can go to donation summary. This is going to give you a little bit of an overall view of what this person has done. You can resend receipts if you need to. You can edit their name. You can edit their email. You could put your own internal personal note on them. If for some reason you need to give them a refund, you can do that on a peer-to-peer fundraiser as well. And if you added any questions or anything, you will see the answers to those questions on those forms. Big thing is here, sometimes you need to update emails, sometimes you need to resend receipts, okay? And then you do also have on the far right-hand side what's called a fundraiser summary. This is that Excel spreadsheet that's going to be very useful for you. So let me give you an example. Okay, so this is the Excel spreadsheet. When you're on your manage view, you come over here to fundraiser summary. If you've used us in the past and you've built just a general collection, it's the same spot where you see your collection summary. Okay, and then depending on which type of peer-to-peer fundraiser you picked, these are the different reports you might see. This is a flat donations one, or pardon me, this is a item sales peer-to-peer fundraiser report. So I can see the money I've raised thus far. If anybody just gave me a few flat donations, I can see them here because why not ask for money upright without needing to get something in return? All your purchases will show here. If you asked questions, for example, pick up how do you want them to get these items, you'll see the answers to questions as well on your all purchases tab. And then your individual items that you sold, you're also going to see broken up here. So I've been jumping around a little bit between our three types of peer-to-peer fundraisers because I did want you to get a general idea for all three. Again, we have item sales, flat donations, and a-thons. They operate a little differently. Athons brings on those pledges and has the individual participants, but you're pledging ahead of time on an activity. Flat donations is just straight money. Item sales is you're selling different items. Okay. They are a little different, all three. And so I have kind of bounced around a little bit today between those three. But the builder works the same. Your reports work very similar. And the places to go, templates, all of that work very similar. Okay, so that's kind of a lot to cover in a short amount of time. We talk a lot about, I tried to differentiate for you the difference between the two types of collections you can build in CheddarUp. We talked about gathering money, information, if you need just a single link or URL, and then we dove deeper into peer-to-peer today. Peer-to-peer, we talked about the three different type of fundraisers you can create. We talked about the fact that you're adding on participants who will also have their own unique pages, and you do want to think a little bit ahead of time. Also, do you need to do that or not? If you're just getting started with fundraising, or you just want a general collection that everyone's going to share, you don't necessarily need to build a peer-to-peer. So prior to digging into that builder, you always want to think a little bit, do I have participants or not? Do I need participants or not? Am I gathering money, information, one or the other? And how many web pages do I want to build? Okay, so those are some of the things I always tell people to think about when you're getting ready to start building. Okay. One last thing I did want to mention as well is customer support. So if you get stuck, if you're trying to figure this all out and you need a little help, you can send us an email at friendlysupport@cheddarup.com. I just put it into the chat window. You can also start a chat. So in the bottom left-hand corner over here, if you click on help, it's going to open up a chat window. We're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to answer your questions via chat. We have real human beings that are going to answer those questions for you. And we can also screen share. We can take a look at your collections that you're building and try to answer questions for you and troubleshoot. Okay. And then the last thing I always like to do is I do like to point out our Knowledge Center as well. If you come up here to Help and Inspiration and you come here to Knowledge Center, you're going to dive into our learning, or into our Knowledge Center, which has all of our different help desk articles. Okay. There's a lot of great information here. You can definitely find a lot when it comes to peer-to-peer. You come here and you can see all these different articles related peer-to-peer, and you can come over to videos and see many different videos as well. Come over here to features, and this is where you'll find peer-to-peer. So we have a lot of robust resources for you if you get stuck, but I always say if you need to talk to a person, just hop on chat, okay? Okay, so those were kind of all the different details related to peer-to-peer today that I wanted to cover, since it was a specific peer-to-peer learning session. However, I am here. I can stay on. I can answer questions if you guys need. If you need to talk about the other builder or anything like that, feel free. You can unmute, you can chat, whatever you need. So, but I do really appreciate you joining us today as well. This is getting recorded, so you will get an email sent to you as well with the recording, okay? Anything I can do to support people?
Heather, I have a quick question for you.
Go for it.
At the basic level, what are the fund collections options available?
All collection options are available to you at the basic level. So let me pull up, if you take a look at our, hold on one second, I'll pull it up. I'll show you our pricing. What's nice is you can build any type of collection in CheddarUp on the basic level. Where you start to need to make decisions is features that you might need. So for example, let me show you this. Here's our pricing page. You can get to this on the external CheddarUp page if you just come here and click on pricing. Okay. You can see the different features. You always start on basic. You can have unlimited collection pages. You can put up to 5 items there. You can do a peer-to-peer as well if you want. It just depends. How advanced are you going with some features? Do you need waivers, for example? Do you need shipping features? Do you need to add taxes or not? Do you need to gather e-signatures? If you don't need to do that, you're probably still pretty good in basic. And then when you get to team, it even goes a little further. Like, do you need to add managers? I showed you that. Do you need to put tickets with like a scannable QR code? Most likely, though, you can build any type of collection when you're first getting started just on the free basic plan, and you can do peer-to-peer there too.
Okay.
And I'll put
What
this
we're
link for you in chat. What are you thinking of doing?
we just have a couple of basic fundraisers a year, and we want to be able to collect funds electronically.
Yeah.
And
It,
so we've just been using an individual member's Venmo
oh yeah.
QR code, and we want it to look a little bit more official. And so we want to be able to just have a QR code that they can scan and send the money, and we do less cash.
Yes. So you're getting started, right? You're just moving
Correct.
off of that Venmo and you want to have a little bit organized place. So I would say the majority of what you need to do, you should be fine on the basic plan. Um, when you start to build with us, like I said before, it's all free when you log in here. So I always tell people to just get in and start playing a little bit. I think for you, you don't need to go down our peer-to-peer route. I would go down just this all-in-one collection. We have over 100 different templates as well. You might see something in here that's good inspiration for you. But if it were me, I would just play around with, you're automatically going to be on the basic, and then I would just play around with that general all-in-one collection builder. So, but you should be in a pretty good spot. Typically, people that are just getting started, they have almost every feature they need just on the basics. I
Okay.
was talking about a pretty advanced feature today.
Right.
And then the one other thing I will note too that's helpful to understand for your organization since you're moving off of Venmo on an individual personal account, one
Hmm.
thing that you can do in CheddarUp when you get the account set up, if you are setting up as an organization, so if you are like a PTO or a PTA or something like that, and you do have that EIN number, when you create that account, one person is the primary account owner. But when they move on, like if they move off of your board and somebody else is coming into play, then you can transfer the account to the new person, and the old person, all of their information comes off, but you don't lose your collections. You don't lose like what you've built in the past. You can still see all
That's
the money you've raised so far. And so that transfer account feature is really nice as people leave your organization or age out of it
right.
too.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
It's super helpful, especially if you've been sitting on Venmo, because how do you pass that on? You can't, right?
Right.
But with the account transfer feature, you can do that. And that's one of the biggest reasons I tell people to make the switch. And then just
Right.
start with the basics. You only need one or two fundraisers to get going. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much, Heather.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else? Any other questions I can answer for you today? I do always feel like peer-to-peer is a lot. You know, I never know if I should just hone in on one or cover all three or not, but it's a really great feature set in CheddarUp. And I will say it is a little bit more of an advanced fundraiser. So you do kind of want to grow into it. But when you've been running general collections for a while, so Teresa, this probably isn't the year for you to do peer-to-peer. I'd wait. But
Mm.
when you're getting comfortable and you've built that single collection, and now you want to kind of put those kids to work or put those individual team members to work, that's when you start to dig into peer to peer. So it is a little bit more advanced. You start here on general collections and then you take that next step. But it's something to think about. There are a lot of people doing it in the public now, and it is good to at least get that education and understand it a little bit.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. Christy, anything I can help answer for you specifically?
My apologies. I was trying to come off of mute. No, this was a great thing. I was just here to kind of pick up some tips and tricks. So I really appreciate your help.
That's great. Yeah, glad you guys joined us. So, the other thing I always like to tell people too, I do run learning sessions twice a week. What we're typically doing this month, we tried to hit some of our different features. So, you are going to see like more feature specific learning sessions on Thursdays. Tuesdays is always my general walkthrough and basics. That's when I hit the all in one collection builder. I don't go quite into advanced features and I stick with just the beginning of getting to know Cheddar Up. So I always recommend that. If you don't want to sign up for another learning session, you can go to our external website and you will see on the website the basics learning session is just sitting there. I'm trying to find that right now. I can never do it while I'm talking, but you will see it there and you can just watch it there. And then also next month in September, we're going to do primarily basics on Tuesdays, and I'm going to do ask anythings on Thursdays. So if you do need to like talk to a human and you want to see somebody, you can jump on the ask anything. I do kind of run through people on a first come first serve basis and let them ask their questions, but that's a nice one too. But yeah, Teresa, you were a little too impatient. Tuesday's going to be the one that'll hit you all the basics. But I have a nice recorded session. If you just want to hop on our website, you'll see it there as well. Okay. Well, thank you again for joining us. The one last thing I always like to say, depending on who's on the calls, I just like to always put a plug for the fact that we are female owned. So a lot of times people come to my learning sessions and it's a large amount of women and we're all working together to really solve some of these problems and also do good in the world. And I will just say that this is a female founded company. I'm very proud to work for these ladies. When you hop on customer support, you're going to reach out to several other women as well. And so once in a while, I just like to throw that out there as a woman speaking to other women. We are female founded and we've got two ladies that are doing some pretty amazing work over here too. So thank you for joining us. And if you guys need anything else, I'll stay on a little bit longer, but otherwise feel free. You're welcome to end the session and you will get this sent to you by email too. But thanks for your time today.